Technology that has advanced since has been extrapolated elsewhere to all corners of the world. So how can the wider world benefit from this? And in order to discuss that, we have an all-star cast of characters here on our panel, and we are grateful for the insight. Let me just do a brief introduction. We have with us Barnali Barua Tokhi, who's the Managing Director of Bharat Petro Resources Limited. Welcome, ma'am. We have Rahul Patel, who's the MD and CEO of Transcontinental Energy. Welcome, Rahul. And we have Trailukya Borgohain, who is the Director of Oil India Limited. Welcome, sir. Great to have you on. We have half an hour for a very profound topic, so let's just jump straight into the heart of the matter. Ma'am, so what do you make of the shale revolution? First of all, the backstory, and then how has this profound impact been felt around the world?
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, and thank you everyone for attending this session. So if we look at the backstory of shale gas, I'll come straight to the point that he has asked. The backstory is actually very old, because even in the 1800s, late 1800s, there were shale gas wells trying to tap whatever is there remaining in the source just to know the potential. But since the 1970s, a more serious outlook was taken by the various operators, and by the early 20s, we could see that the American shale gas revolution came into play. And there were many players in that sphere who made it a business of theirs to make it economically viable, because economics is a very important factor in that. And we could see that it has changed the entire atmosphere of the shale gas sector in USA and ultimately of the whole world. And America, if you see today, the way that they have brought in the shale gas revolution is through the factory model. So economics is very important. And whatever learnings people could bring from there has now worked all over the world. And I'll come to that a little later probably. But we in India have also started bringing the LNG from the US. So that itself shows the revolution that has been brought. And now from the learnings that we have got from the world over, we need to bring it to our country. So just to tell you a little bit, my own company, Bharat Petro Resources, we have a block in UAE with huge shale potential in it. We have already drilled wells and we have established the presence of hydrocarbons through fracking. And we will be doing the laterals now, and we want to ensure that it is viable for us, and the same learnings, because what is important in the shale gas play? The first is the subsurface. We know, and as we have already mentioned, about only 30% of the hydrocarbons generated in the upstream, in the reservoirs or in the source areas move into the reservoirs. So there is a potential for about 70% of the generated hydrocarbons. And from what we understand, whatever has been in the known basins, about 340 billion barrels, and about 7,500 TCF of gas still remains. So that needs to be tapped. And this is what is going to change the entire story, because we are talking about balancing of energies. If you have listened to all these speakers right from day one, we are now talking about balancing of energies, and shale gas has a lot to contribute in that balance. Thank you.
Rahul, if I turn the floor over to you, how do Transcontinental view it from their prism about the profound changes that we've noticed in the shale sector?
So, I represent Transcontinental, and we have, let me share some first KPIs coming out of US, and then we'll go further into it. Right now, currently, 68% of US oil, which is part of the 68% part of the 21 million barrels a day, come out of shale oil. And about 2.2 trillion cubic feet of gas comes out of unconventional source. So this has actually made US into a net exporter than more a net importer. So you could just, from those KPIs, single-handedly realize how important this shale energy source itself is. Not even speaking about the whole development of ecosystems, development of entire stakeholder perspective from here. which is development of employment generation in the shale regions, development of vendors, development of massive development of factories, et cetera, benefits which government gets from the whole shale revolution in US. Now coming to India, I think India is in a very, very good forefrontier to develop shale revolution. EIG has clarified that there is a massive potential in India. Apart from that, I think India becomes a very good forefront because of sheer capacity or the sheer demand of natural resource in India. Also from the fact that how all the mistakes or the problems what US has faced for last 20 years, India doesn't need to face them. We in India can learn from all those mistakes and take this revolution further. From our company, Transcontinental, we practically provide services in every major shale basin in US, Permian being our hub. We've made the mistakes, we've learned from the mistakes. Right now we are present globally in the entire Middle East. We've picked up CBM unconventional blocks here in India, where we'll be also exploring some possibilities of shale. So we are looking at a very, very massive outlook. It is something what we've learned from our experience. It's a very, very good way to explore natural resource on a most optimized cost and higher production levels.
Trailukya, we've heard from both our colleagues about their respective experiences. What has yours and Oil India Limited's experience been with shale oil and gas?
Good morning, Gaurav and other panelists, and also to the audience. I am from Oil India Limited, Trailukya, Borgohain. So, like you have asked, is that what is our experience? Oil India Limited actually invested in shale oil and gas exploration in US for some time. Since 2012, we had one block in Niobrara shales. And we were there for about 1 decade, but now we are not there. So it is not exactly because of some economic issues, mainly at the financial issues with the block. That is the only reason. So we had about 10,000 acres of land where we almost drilled kind of 200 plus wells, and we had production for some years. And then later on, what happened? Our partners, we were with the partners. We were the partners with another company. So that company got dissolved, and after that, we had to come out of the. Our company decided that we come out of the block. But having said that, I'd like to come to the broader picture of shale oil and gas actually. So what we have learned, of course, we have learned a lot in the past decade while working in shale oil and all shale oil and gas. And what we have seen is that one of the most important thing we have learned is that the technologies. If you bring the right technology and blend it with the right technology, means marriage of two technologies, you can say that horizontal drilling and a frac. If you combine it very beautifully, then we could bring out the shale oil and gas from the reservoirs in the past. Since 70s, like Madam has said, that people were trying. They knew that fracking can bring more oil. But what happened is that if you combine, when they combined with horizontal drilling, then only they could succeed. And after that, we have been talking in the lobby room there that there are many things that has happened. So many optimization techniques are taking place, and hopefully we as Oil India may like to again venture into those areas where if we get good partners and in a futuristic way, we may go into those areas. Having said about US basins, we have also analyzed our basins in Assam and Rajasthan especially. We drilled some experimental wells and code some of the areas where shales are present. And we analyzed, but yeah,
For those who may not be familiar, which year was this started?
in 2012.
Right.
In 2012.
Sure, please.
So that's what I think we have a lot of things to learn. And like US, he has already mentioned that how 68% of the total oil is being produced from the shale oil. I think China is another example because China is almost producing around 10% of today's shale oil, shale oil and gas from the reservoirs. So most probably this is one learning point that India or as a company we can learn from other countries. Thank you.
Barnali, I'll carry on in the same vein. In your opening remarks, you mentioned presence in the UAE. You mentioned how you're actually very seriously examining various shale avenues. I think it then begs the question, from an Indian company's perspective, your perspective, how do you view the future of shale, not just in terms of your own domestic patch, but also in terms of international synergies, including the example you just mentioned?
Yes, thank you, Gaurav, again. So, when we talk about shale gas, we talk about the surface, the fracking, the laterals, etc. But before that comes into play, we have to see the subsurface. The subsurface is very important because of various reasons. The TOC, the total organic content, has to be perfect. The higher, the better. The frackability, that is the brittleness of the rock, is very important. The complexities within the reservoir is very important. The lateral extent and thickness, all these factors are very important. So once we do this kind of experiments in US to see, I was in Reliance and I worked extensively in the Eagle Ford and Marcellus shale plays. And there we could see in Marcellus, the reservoirs were very, I call them reservoirs, they still hold hydrocarbons. So they were very fractured. So a lot of laterals that you lay will be, crossing through faults and would give rise to complexities. So once we have seen all these plays in the international space, we have now brought it to UAE, and we have already talked about UAE Shale formation having the great potential that has already been established by other international companies such as Petronas, just south of our block. Even if you see now, Saudi Aramco in Saudi Arabia is doing a great job in the various plays that are there next to Gawar field, and then Argentina as well in the Vaca Muerta. So we have seen that depth is not an issue. Eagle Ford, we have drilled up to something like 10,000 feet. So our Cambay shales in Cambay area, Gujarat, if you see, they have tight formations, the shale is very close, and so there would be some primary migration, but I am sure there is a lot of potential in the Cambay area and also in the Kopili shales of Assam, and we have to bring this learning and see the optimization, how to lay the laterals, what should be the spacing between the laterals, the maximum stress directions, in which directions to lay the laterals. All that studies, it's high time we bring it to our country and look for exploitation of the possible reserves in these in a very effective and optimized way. Thank you.
Rahul, we've got some context on how far we've progressed as far as hydraulic fracturing comes. It then begs the question from your services standpoint, not only could you please elaborate on that, you could perhaps also provide a color on what role digital technology is playing in sort of resource maximization, if you have a viewpoint on that.
Sure. Thank you so much again. So I think when I hear the word hydraulic fracturing, I think it's a very simplified technology, but outside United States, it's very heavily sold or heavily mismarketed. I feel that way. I mean, currently in our Permian Basin, what we are doing with hydraulic fracturing is very, very simple. Sand, chemical, or fresh water, and fracture. Versus, I think the whole cost optimization, be it UAE, be it Saudi Arabia, or be it India, it's pretty heavy from the use of very heavy chemicals, very heavy proppants, and et cetera, right? I mean, technology is simplified, we need to use that simplified technology to achieve that cost structure and optimization of resources. We do not need to complicate that technology. And my viewpoint is that hydraulic fracturing has a lot of advantage, specifically in bringing optimized production. I mean, just to give you an average KPI, we are producing 2,000 barrels of oil per well, average in the Permian Basin, compared to any conventional source, which is 300 to 500 to 700 barrels or 1,000 barrels. So I think there is a lot of potential for that in India, and we need to bring more players to India who are experts in terms of hydraulic fracturing. Right now, there is only presence of big 3 or big 4 in India, but I think there is a potential to bring more players and open up more resource in that terms.
Trailukya, as Rahul has just said, you know, the power of collaboration. So I will ask you, I will make your question slightly double-edged. One, of course, the same thing that I asked your fellow panelist was the role of technology. How does Oil India view technology in this fair? And secondly, on collaborative partnerships. And then I'll come to you, Barnali, with the same question on partnerships. But you first, sir.
Technology is the bottom line actually for this kind of exploration, especially shale gas and oil. When we talk about and innovation at the same time, Rahul has already mentioned about it that how the change in the procedures in fracking, you can achieve higher production. I think I like to mention that book, Frackers. In the Frackers, there is a very beautiful story where one person called Stainsberger, if I remember correctly. So what he did is that he was in the well site and he didn't have the gel with him. Then what they did is that mostly pumped the water and the sand, propant, whatever was there. But what happened in the Barnett cell is that the productivity increased from this particular this thing. Somehow this was an innovation. And they increased the production without using the gel or reduced use of the gel. So technology is an innovation at the same time. Definitely works very good. And if you talk about Oil India, because I cannot think that my sales are same as the sales of US. It will be a little bit different. And even in the stratigraphy also, we have different kind of brittleness. Shallower horizons are a little bit more plastic. If I talk about Assam, I don't want to name the formations, but the deeper horizons are like brittle. So when we do the fracking, then we have to take into cognizance of these facts and bring the right technology there. And we have seen it and we have got result also. It is not that we have not used hydrofrac in our wells, we have been using and we are getting some good results out of that in deeper horizons where it is brittle. But in the plastic shell, we are not getting that kind of result. So technology is very important and we are trying to imbibe those technologies and innovations. Thank you.
Barnali, innovation is constant, so is collaboration. How does your company approach the idea of collaborative partnership on resource maximization?
So the first thing is technology collaboration is there, but for shale gas, the most important factor is cost and the economics of extracting the same. So collaboration, I'm happy to share that I was talking to Rahul. He's already talking to our company in UAE for bringing their learnings. They are service providers as well as operators. So it is good for us that an operator is bringing the services to our company, which will help us learn from whatever they have already done work in. And Oil India, of course, is our partner in many of our blocks here. So collaboration is everywhere. We talk to various vendors. We have talked to various players in the US space of shale gas. So everybody, it is a collaborative atmosphere. We cannot it's not really practical to do it alone. bringing the learnings from everyone is important, but the most important aspect is the cost part of it. And we need to see, Rahul was just telling me earlier, we used to have ceramic proppants and all that, which are very expensive. So if you can just, even in UAE, I think ADNOC has done a lot of fracking with the sands that is available there. And a particular mesh size of sand would be good enough, and I'm sure the entire UAE is full of that. So that is the way we plan to optimize and plan to cut costs, make it commercial, and bring that learning to India.
Rahul, if I may carry on the point that Barnali expressed, savings, efficiency savings need to be made. What's your prism telling you?
So innovation, I mean, the success of unconventional. So we can talk about a little bit about that. It is solely based on number of days spent on a well site. So if you can, when you talk about unconventional oil or unconventional gas, you're talking about economics of scale. Conventional and unconventional are two separate products of its own. And the idea is that you should not spend even an hour more on a frac site than you need to. And the point is that could only happen with a good collaboration. So your operator partners as a service company understand you, you understand your operator partners, the joint team effort happens, right innovation is placed on the well site, right data monitoring is placed on the well site. These are the important aspects of it. Your ballpark in US figure is you have to finish a well within $7 to $8 million for it to be a successful well. And that is the same economics which are brought in Saudi Arabia, which are brought in Abu Dhabi, all over the place. So the idea is there is good enough technology out there. Is there excess technology? Yes, there is excess technology. So don't get sold by excess technology, but do get sold by a good technology. And what is required to have a success in shale?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm conscious of time, but I think it moves to a very nice part of our conversation. We've discussed various aspects of technology. We've discussed how things have progressed with the various companies we have representing our panel. I think it's now time to ask our panelists a bit of a macro question. We heard Oil Minister Hardeep Singh Puri yesterday outline how the energy transition has many aspects and many energy fuel mediums have a role to play there. So let me put it to the panelists, what role would shale oil and gas play in the wider energy mix of the world in the decades to come? So Barnali, over to you first.
So like I said, that only 30% of the oil generated in the source is expelled and go into the reservoirs, which are extracted through conventional means. So 70% still remains. So much energy is available to us to address our requirements, our needs. So shale gas in that way, by sheer volume, it is going to play a big number for the energy needs in the supply terms. But one thing I would like to just point out here is, as we all have discussed today, it needs much more energy, it has to be cost efficient. So I would request each government of every country, and especially in India, to come up with regulatory terms and even from taxation point of view, to make it very attractive so that more players can come in and we can be very cost efficient, and there has to be the environmental clearances, etc., has to be in a sphere which is very easy for us to go and actually explore in the areas which has a lot of potential. So that is one important aspect. So I feel that will actually make it very attractive for everyone to play a role. Thank you.
Rahul, 20 years ago, there were the doubters. Nobody's doubting shale now. It's a question of tapping it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's very clearly proven, specifically in United States, Argentina, now in Saudi Arabia, that shale is the unconventional is a proper source of energy. Even just naming it unconventional anymore doesn't make any sense to me. We are producing, as I said earlier, 68% of our oil and 2.2 trillion cubic feet of gas from unconventional source now. So the idea is we've moved on over the 20 years so much further ahead in taking those steps, that it's a proven source of energy now. And I'm very happy to see companies like Bharat Petro Resources venturing out of India and also tapping shale oil, tapping shale gas. I think unconventional source is meant for its success now. We already seen it in US, we've seen in Argentina. We have seen ADNOC has actually proposed a massive program, more than 100,000 square kilometers going to unconventional shale. So did Saudi Aramco, so did KOC, which is Kuwait National Oil Company. So we're seeing it. Every single large basin or every single large player globally is adopting shale as a program or unconventional as a program and focusing on it, diverting resources from the conventional program, following those footsteps. End of the day, energy independence is the most important aspect of any country. And here in India, I think we have to achieve it with the sheer demand India has coming up.
Trailukya, coming on the same point, how would you like, what's your perspective?
Like Barnali madam and Rahul has said, definitely Barnali madam has said that we are going more towards the source than the original, whatever we call reservoirs. Now we are going towards the source. Definitely, this is the way forward, because the reservoirs we have already done, and like countries like Middle East countries are also going towards shale oil and gas is really amazing to see, because they have got abundance of conventional oil and gas. And in our case also India, we are like, if I talk about Oil India, we are what we are trying to do is that we are going more towards the deeper part of the basins, where the formations are tighter, more shalier, and most probably, like everybody says, the easy oil is no more there. Definitely the tighter oil and gas will be there. We have to go with technologies. Definitely technology will be intensive, but at the same time, like Rahul has mentioned, that technology cost is coming down slowly, and how efficiently we do it, that's the only question in future. Yes.
I'm conscious of time, and our wonderful next panelists are waiting. But I'll just one final summation, and I'll continue with you, Trailukya, then Rahul, and then Barnali. About when we talk of security of supply, if you see, in your crystal ball, what do you see coming up from the shale perspective in the next 5, 10, 15 years? So you first, Trailukya.
You see, the Mesozoics, if I talk about the Mesozoics and maybe Jurassics, there are a lot of shales available all over the world. So it is a huge volume. So we don't know what could be the volume. Also, in the we have not ventured into the shale oil and gas in the deep water part or other shallow offshores. Maybe those will also, like he has said, Madam has said that Eagle Ford is deeper, and Barnett people are going deeper. Definitely the way forward is going deeper and geographically more extensive towards this offshore.
Rahul, your thoughts on security of supply and shale?
Yeah. It's going to be something to see how it comes up, but I feel personally that it's going to be a major source of energy for the world. We haven't still, I think, not explored more than 30 or 40% of the shale yet coming up. So as everyone in the panel said, Madam said and Sir said, that it's going to be something which is going to actually design world's energy independence.
And Barnali, final word to you. Cost permutations matter, but shale versus security of supply?
So if you look at India, we in the energy basket, gas is about 8%, we are looking for 15%. And we are already importing energy from US, which is coming from the shale gas. So it is going to be a very important source of our energy security. And we have already talked to ADNOC. I think BPCL, my parent company, has signed some LNG requirement from there. So there is a lot of whatever the demands of the country are going to be met by this factor from shale gas in a very large way in the coming future. That's what is my vision.
Sure. Many thanks to all of you for your insight. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our wonderful panelists.